You need to be bored. You will have less meaning and you will be more depressed if you never are bored. I mean, it couldn't be clearer. Let me give you the good side of boredom in general. Boredom is a tendency for us to not be occupied otherwise cognitively, which switches over our thinking system to use a part of our brain that's called the default mode network. That sounds fancy. It's really not. The default mode network is a bunch of structures in your brain that switch on when you don't have anything else to think about. So you forgot your phone and you're sitting at a light, for example. That's when your default mode network goes on. We don't like it. My colleague in the psychology department here at Harvard, Dan Gilbert, he did experiments where people had to sit in a room for 15 minutes with instructions to do absolutely nothing, and there was nothing in the room to do except there was a button in front of them that they could push, and if they did, they gave themselves a painful electric shock. Sit there bored or get a shock. A big majority of the participants gave themselves shocks instead of thinking about nothing. We don't like boredom. Boredom's terrible. Why is boredom so bad? Well, because the default mode network makes us think about things that might be kind of uncomfortable. When you think about nothing, well, your mind wanders and thinks about, for example, big questions of meaning in your life. What does my life mean? You go to kind of uncomfortable existential questions when you're bored. That turns out to be incredibly important, incredibly good. One of the reasons that we have such an explosion of depression and anxiety in our society today is because people actually don't know the meaning of their lives, much less so in previous generations. Tons of data show this. And furthermore, we're not even looking. Why not? I'll tell you why not. We figured out a way to eliminate boredom. We've been able almost completely to shut off the default mode network in our brains. How? The answer is that thing in your pocket with the screen, which you take out even when you're standing on the street corner waiting for the light to change. Is like, I might have to wait here for 15 seconds. What are you doing? You're actually trying to not be bored because the default mode network is mildly uncomfortable because it sends you to the types of questions that you can't get your mind around, you can't get your arms around. Well, that's a big problem. That's a doom loop of meaning. If every time you're slightly bored, you pull out your phone, it's going to get harder and harder for you to find meaning. And that's the recipe for depression and anxiety and a sense of hollowness, which, by the way, are all through the roof. I get it. You don't want to be bored. You need to be bored. Be bored more. Tomorrow, when you go to the gym in the morning after you wake up, don't take your phone. Can you handle it? Not listening to a podcast while you're working out? Just being in your head? I promise you'll have your most interesting ideas while you're working out without devices. It's probably been a long time since you've done that. Commute with nothing, not even the radio. Can you do that? Start getting better at periods that are 15 minutes and longer of boredom and watch your life change. Number one, you'll be less bored with ordinary things in your life. If you get better at the skill of boredom, you'll be less bored with your job. You'll be less bored with your relationships. You'll be less bored with the things that are going on around you. But more importantly, you'll start digging into the biggest questions in your life: purpose, meaning, coherence, significance. And who knows, you might just get happier. People ask me all the time, is the doctor taking his own prescriptions? And the answer is yes. Yes, I am. I'm prone to the same pathologies as anybody else because I have the same brain chemistry as everybody else. So what do I do to fight that? And the answer is, well, I do a number of things. I have a no device policy after 7 in the afternoon. I don't sleep with my phone. We don't have devices when we have meals in my family because we're there for each other. We're not there for people who aren't there. 3, I have regular social media and screen cleanses where I don't use my device for longer periods of time. First, it's like children screaming in my head. Well, because that's how, dopamine is saying, get the phone, get the phone. That's addiction. But it calms down and I feel better and I feel sort of blessed by the end. And, I pick the phone up by the end because I have to check my emails and I have to be a normal functioning connected person in the world. But it does remind me that my life doesn't have to revolve around these devices. These protocols are really, really helpful. And I recommend them to anybody and everybody. Don't sleep with your phone. No phones during meals. Regular social media fasts. You'll get better. People worry that if they do these things, they're going to miss something. There are ways that you can remedy that. One of the things that you can do is you can have your phone on. You're just not looking at it. And there's only 1 or 2 numbers that can reach you in case of emergencies. Phones can do that, by the way. If you don't know how to do that, ask your kid. But don't use emergencies as an excuse. Here's something that's not an emergency. What's going on Twitter? That's not an emergency. Answer nothing. It doesn't matter. The news can wait. Seriously, your grandparents didn't know what was going on every single second in Washington, D.C. You're killing yourself with this stuff. Are you kidding me? It's bad for you. So let me say it straight to my kids. Put down your phones. You need more meaning in your life. And so do I. I'm a classic striver. I work really hard. I want to put points on the board every single day. You know what I'm bad at? Leisure. Now, I know what you're thinking. Leisure is chilling on the beach, and you're probably not very good at leisure either. If you're watching this video, you're watching content from HBR because you want an edge, man. I completely get it. But here's where we're wrong, fellow strivers. Leisure is a serious business. It's a very famous book written in the middle of the 20th century called Leisure, the Basis of Culture by Josef Pieper, a German philosopher. He was a great philosopher, and he said that we need to be great at leisure. By that, he meant that we need to be strivers at leisure, too. And that meant not being lazy. He talked about leisure as being a serious thing in which we're not compensated by the world, but which enriches us and makes us better. You don't need work-life balance. You need work-life integration. And the way to do that, to be better at your job, is also to be better at your not job. The 3 parts of leisure that make you truly excellent are all about learning things you don't have to learn, deepening your relationships for which nobody pays you, which is to say, not on the clock, and becoming spiritually or philosophically deeper than you once were. Those are the 3 areas of leisure that you can dedicate yourself to get better at and watch your happiness and your effectiveness and your productivity and your creativity truly grow. And those are great goals for any striver. I know you plan at your work. Every striver does. Every minute is accounted for, right? And the trouble is that they don't like the time when they're not working precisely because it's so unstructured. Feels like it's frittered away. I talk to people all the time who say, boy, at work, I'm unbelievably productive, but then I come home and I'm exhausted and I just waste all my time zoom, scrolling through social media. And I feel bad about myself. The answer to that is to take seriously your leisure time like you take your work. That means real assignments and real goals. Like having objectives that you're trying to focus on to be better than you once were so that you're looking forward to get home, not to do more work and not to fritter away your time on social media, but to read that book that you've always wanted to read. I promise you that if you set aside the Brothers Karamazov of Fyodor Dostoevsky, you probably always wanted to read it. Everybody did. It's so great. It's a complete page turner. And you say, as soon as I get home from work, I'm going to dig into that book. That's something that has the dignity of every striver's work calendar. And you can dedicate it to your leisure, and you can love both. You can go too far and suck all the joy out of this. If you say to yourself, I'm not going to sleep until I've read 35 pages of the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, then pretty soon you won't look forward to it anymore. It has to be something that doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become something that's a task that sucks the meaning out of life per se. One of the ways that you can test this is to see whether or not you're truly getting enjoyment from something. And if you are, then you're going to want to be more structured about it. You're going to want to do it in a serious way. You're going to want to get after it. You're going to want to schedule it. But if it actually becomes something that you're not enjoying anymore, then you know that you've actually gone too far. That's how you figure it out. Not too hard. Can leisure be unproductive? The answer, according to Josef Pieper, who wrote Leisure, the Basis of Culture, is no. Because if you're doing something that's inherently generative and good, that's productive. Now, that doesn't mean it's work itself. You don't have to turn your leisure into a job. But it has to be something where you have personal growth. Maybe that's total and complete relaxation. Maybe that's going on a retreat where you're sitting in meditation or in prayer, where you're getting serious about deepening your relationship
outside of the confines of any of your work responsibilities. But that's productive. It's just a new way of saying what productivity actually is.